Well, hello everyone. I am Matt Williamson. How's everyone doing this wonderful day? I am sitting here between my radio shows in my room here in Indy. Love it. It's been a great atmosphere. I'm on the air every day from 10 to noon, and then I get a 2-hour break, scarf down some lunch, talk to you guys, go back from 2 to 4. So that's my plan. You can catch me there. And this morning, we had Daniel Jeremiah joined us, which was awesome, and as well as some other guests. I mean, some really good guests. There were Draft Nicks and Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus was really, really good. So just stuff we gathered from them. We spent most of the time talking corners and offensive linemen, and Cooper DeJean was a guy we talked about a lot. These guys think he's a great fit for the Steelers. I couldn't agree more. He's not going to work out here, but when he does work out, I have a feeling it's going to be really good. He might be a little tighter in the hips than some of these other dudes, but he can play press. He can play the slot. I mean, he's physical. He's probably the best body of these guys. I get the impression more and more, which is not a shock, is Arnold from Alabama probably won't be available. People are expecting him to test well. I don't think he'll be in the mix at 20. Kool-Aid McKinstry came up a lot as well, the other Bama corner. Great experience, a lot of calmness, playing with his back to the quarterback, which is not easy to do, but he's got a lot of experience. Played as a true freshman for Nick Saban. I mean, there's a lot to be said just for that. So I think that in itself makes him a sort of plug and play type corner. But the big question is with Kool-Aid is going to be how well he tests. I mean, if his flat out speed's a little questionable, that could drop him well past 20. I think there's a good chance he's there. He's my probably least favorite of what I think of the big five. Wiggins is a guy from Clemson that's no questions whatsoever with athleticism, but could fight a little harder to get off blocks and isn't a glass eater in the run game. But boy, is he talented! Press man coverage, oily hips is the term we used. Rakestraw from Missouri is a guy I need to do a little more homework on. Wasn't at the Senior Bowl. Excited to see him work out, but there seems to be, just chatting with DJ, that he probably is going to end up in the first round. Is that going to be 18, 19, 20, 21, or is that going to be 25 through 32? Hard to say. I think Daniel Jeremiah's exact words were, if Mitchell from Toledo is there at 20, you just sprint to the podium for the Steelers. He thinks he's a perfect fit. I could absolutely see that. I'm having a hard time finding negatives on this guy. Just didn't play much at all, press man coverage, but looked really good to Senior Bowl doing it. He even referenced, that Mike Tomlin called out Mitchell and Wilson from Michigan. They were the best two guys out there, lined them up against each other and did one-on-ones, and Mitchell more than held his own. So when we move to tackles, another really good group. And I bring these two positions up because more and more I think the Steelers' first-round pick is going to be a corner or a tackle. It's not going to be Alt from Notre Dame or Fashanu from Penn State. They'll be gone. Fuaga's a guy that Daniel's really high on. We didn't talk much about him, but Latham was a player we talked about a lot with both these analysts. That was really intriguing. I tend to think he's probably off the board before 20. Heard people say he's built like a globe. I mean, he's just all power. One thing Daniel mentioned was his eyes can drift a little bit. And what he means by that is doesn't see stunts develop or blitzes as well, and needs some more tutoring in that category. And speaking of that, Mims from Georgia, he's only started, I think, 6 games. He's played under 500 snaps at the college level, partially because he was behind guys like Broderick Jones. He's also had some injuries here and there, but the buzz on the street about Mims is he might be the most impressive physical specimen in Indianapolis these next couple of days. Crazy long arms, smooth mover, easy. I think his teammates call him future Hall of Famer, but you might need some time with him. Daniel Jeremiah had mocked Fatanu to the Steelers in the first round. which frankly I wasn't big on because I don't know if he's a true tackle. I think he's just, and Daniel even said this. He said, he's an offensive lineman with the Steelers mentality. He'll fit in somewhere. I'm like, that's great. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's value in that, and I'm sure he'd play a lot. I think I'm just looking more for the more prototypical tackles or pure center, which we didn't do a whole lot about. Guyton from Oklahoma is that pure tackle. We did not discuss him a whole heck of a lot other than he could blow the doors off testing as well. It sure feels like Mims and Guyton are the guys that could really elevate their stock just by the numbers they produce, the way they look in shorts and T-shirt, et cetera, and spandex, which you have to be careful of, but they are some moldable clay that could turn into great players. BetOnline is your number one source for odds, stats, trends, and lines, with everything from point spreads to hundreds of player performance props, with dozens of odds, props, and info on hundreds of sports, events, politics, and entertainment. You can access the world's best wagering information anytime from your desktop or mobile devices. Head to BetOnline today to stay updated on all the action. BetOnline, the game starts here. So I've been meaning to mention this to you, but we've kind of been tight on time. But the Derek Clausen, who's a guy I really respect from offensive, X's and O's standpoint, especially quarterbacks. He does a lot of work at the 33rd team. He also works for Reception Perception, is a site that I've referenced quite a bit, breaking down all the quarterbacks. And he ranked now that we got him settled, he ranked the top 32 play callers. And he put Arthur Smith at 14 with the Steelers. I wanted to read you what he said and kind of just touch on that a little bit as well. But here's what Derek said about him. He said, the majority of Arthur Smith's play calling history is impressive. His work with the Tennessee Titans was impressive enough to convince the Atlanta Falcons to hire him as head coach in 2021. Oh, by the way, side note, we are going to chat with some Titans people that kind of do what I do for the Titans, just to talk about Smith's time with Tennessee. So I'll probably be checking back on that tomorrow, fill you in on some thoughts there. But back to the write-up. In Atlanta, Smith got everything out of a decaying Matt Ryan and somehow steered Marcus Mariota to a top 10 offense in 2022. I think that can't be overlooked. I mean, Matt Ryan was bad when Smith took over, and Mariota is like the least accurate quarterback in the league. Things fell apart in 2023, of course, but I'm willing to blame that on Smith being in over his head as a head coach, not being a poor play caller in a vacuum. I tend to agree with that, but we'll see. I mean, that's in question, and that's giving him somewhat of the benefit of the doubt. But as a play caller with a formidable presence at head coach, Tennessee, Vrabel, and the same thing at Tomlin, he's just going to do one thing, and the head coach is going to keep him in line. Last little paragraph here from Derek was, now that Smith has to handle the offense, expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to quickly have one of the best run games in the league and a lethal play action attack off of it. Sounds a lot better than what they've had. And I tend to agree. I thought that was a very good write-up. I thought that was something you guys would like hearing from a totally impartial source. And I think that's what you should expect. I am curious, will they play a lot of 12 personnel? They play a lot of 11 personnel? All those things need to work themselves out. The offseason will show us what kind of center are they after. I think it's going to be more of a mobile dude. But I do think, and I'm going to do a lot more homework on the Smith situation while we're here, starting this afternoon, I'm more and more encouraged by it. And I know a lot of people are down on it, but I don't think you're looking far enough into the situation. So that's what I got to report basically from day one from Indy, over and out.